Welcome back to the Posted Podcast. I'm Kazzandra Romero, and today I'm joined with my co-host, Samantha Delgadillo. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Cassie. How are you?
Good.
Glad to be back for this week's episode.
Yes, today we have a very special guest. In honor of CTE month, we have Miss Adriana Garcia, the CTE Director for the district of PSJA, and she is also a PSJA North alumni.
How are you doing, Miss Garcia?
It's a little tense here being in the Bay Area, but I love it.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So how are you doing? What's been going on with you?
We're been celebrating a lot, obviously, with CTE month being February. Every year it's a special time that we take to kind of show appreciation to our programs, the CTE programs, which CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. And so it's transitioned over quite a bit of times. Back then they called it vocational, and then it was called CATE. And now we are at CTE. So we're getting really into that educational acronyms that are known all the time. But with this month, you know, with our teachers and our students in all of our programs, we really just want to send a special thank you for as much work as they bring in, because they bring in something special and different than some of our other teachers. Your academic reading or math teacher, right? The majority of our teachers worked out in the industry in these fields. And so they get to bring those experiences and kind of tell you like, nah, it's not from the book. You know, this is what it's really like. And so that really helps our kids be prepared to know what to expect. And so, you know, this is just that special time of the year when they are able to dedicate for CTE month. And so we take full advantage of trying to celebrate that with as many programs as possible in all of our CTE programs.
Yeah, I think that's very important because I feel like now in today's time, it's all about experience more or less than like education, because you could have this like degree from a high prestigious university, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't have the experience, if you don't know what you're doing. And I feel like with having these CTE programs, like that can bring a lot of experience, especially if we have teachers who have been in the field, you know?
For example, I've actually had 2 CTE classes, and one of which was business with Miss Osuna here at PSJA Bears. And she was actually in the banking industry, so she talks to us about her experience with that and what we can learn based off of her experience, not necessarily what's on the book, like you mentioned. Also, Mr. Leija, which is in charge of this entire production, and he overlooks the BNN production team. And he was also, he's experienced, you know, in the field. He had a job in this career, or
in Telemundo, right? Yeah.
Something like that. So I think it's very helpful to us students because we get to learn what's on the book and what's on the paper, but we also get to learn about the true things that happen behind the scenes, I guess, of the books.
Definitely. Keep in mind that nowadays with employers, they're not trying to waste a lot of time training individuals. So when our students are going into these into the workforce and being able to compete, saying, hey, I know how to do that already, and they'll be like really surprised. So where is the employer going to want to go with? Someone that they're going to have to take time and train and make those mistakes with, or someone that they can just kind of get caught up on how they run their area or their business and already has the skill set? And so that's what we really push for, most importantly, with our career and technical education programs. And so that way these kids are already showing that they're prepared to be out into those workforce. And that's what we want. We want the kids to gain experiences, to gain knowledge, and then be able to apply it and have successful futures, right? Whether it be in our area, in our community, or wherever their journey may take them, right? And so that just gives a positive influence that we made on our students for PSJA.
Yeah, and I know here at Bears we have cosmetology, we have business, we have TV media production. Those are just a few. So can you go into a little more detail of what other CTE programs the PSJA district offers for all students?
And actually, I'm going to use my notes only because I don't want to leave out a single one. You're going to be surprised. I don't want to leave anybody out. So in the area, we have different career clusters is really what the state goes off of. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty on the different programs, we got under agriculture, we've got an animal science and a plant science area, right? And so you have those programs here at your campus as well. And then we've got culinary arts. We offer architecture and design, HVAC, which is heating and ventilation. So a lot of those trades, which we need for construction, electrical, welding.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know you mentioned culinary arts. Who offers that? Because I have never heard it here at school.
So we do have culinary arts at PSJ North Early College High School.
Okay.
And then we have also here at the Collegiate High School, they offer it.
Oh, wow.
And then, but we do have a college certificate, which is for anybody in our district. And so that'll be one of the things I do want to talk about, which are our PSJ academies. And so the PSJA academies are very unique because we want to make sure that we provide equitable access for all of our students. So just because you don't have that here doesn't mean you can't take that course or you can't take that program. And so that's one of the things we want to help advertise. And I'm so happy to have you all, have me on so I can kind of share some of that information, because we do want to promote those programs, because different students have different interests, right? And so just because sometimes you don't see it or hear about it at your school doesn't mean our district is not offering it for any and all of our students, right? So culinary arts is big. And let me tell you, we have a phenomenal facility across the street. Really? And so the students from all the different high schools that choose that path during their 11th and 12th grade year, which is with the college certificate, they get transported over there and they take their classes, and then they come back to their campus and they do their other part of their schedule, right? And so it's the best of both worlds, right? Because we know that we have a lot of pride in all of our schools and for the students, and we don't want to take that away from anyone, but we want to provide that special area for them.
Is there a reason why there's maybe only one area, or why only a certain school provides a specific class?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it's just a matter of we're looking at the number of students that are showing the interest, and then looking at, is it beneficial to open it everywhere, or are we going to really extend ourselves like I said, this great state-of-the-art facility that everybody can take advantage of in one area.
Like cosmetology, I think, also has that, right, at Baloo?
Yes.
Right. So cosmetology, we do offer at all of the 4 comprehensive high schools. And then after meeting prerequisites, right, then you have the option to be recommended to take our licensing program. So could the student stay and do 4 years, of cosmetology at a high school? Yes. But there are some students that's what they're seeking to get licensed. And I will share that this is one of the great things I've learned with CTE. There are some kids that just want this skill. You know what I mean? Like maybe somebody wants to just know how to do their own nails for life, but that's not what they're pursuing as a career, right? So that's a great option to have. Take the class, gain some skills, know how to do these things, or especially for trends, right? We all know there's big things of trends with cosmetology.
Definitely.
And so, that's great for kids to be able to have that opportunity. But maybe that's not what they're saying that they want as a career field long term. So that we have different options for them, and we want to make sure you still have access to that.
Great. So what can you expand more on what other programs we have?
Definitely. Yes. Let's go back to my list. I want to make sure I didn't leave anybody. Remember?
Yes.
So we were at architecture, carpentry, electrical, and HVAC. We've got design and multimedia, which is kind of like your graphic design classes, right? And then you have your audio video production like here that you all have done very well in excelling.
Thank you.
And then we've got business, we've got marketing and sales, which again goes hand in hand with the business. We've got our health science, that's one of our largest programs right throughout the district. And then we have cybersecurity, we have welding, manufacturing, the cosmetology that we talked about, education, getting students to love and learn to be educators. And so that's something that we try to get, right, so we can grow our own. We can make sure that we have quality teachers to come back and support the future, right, our young kids. So that's big. And the other big one is law enforcement in our area and engineering. And so we have all of those different programs, and it varies, right, by campus. The majority of them are at all campuses. When we get specialized with some of those advanced courses as far as getting certifications or licensing, and we can talk a little bit about that, those may be when we kind of cohort the kids. So we say, hey, let's go with bringing everybody together from anybody who's interested and being able to give them these skills and these experiences, right? And that's what we do with all of our different programs that we kind of bring together. And so those are the programs that we offer here at PSJA ISD.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I know that there's certifications that you can get, like you mentioned. And I think that's really important because, after college, or even if you decide not to go to college, you can go into the work field and you already have experience. You already have your certification. So then it makes you more credible. And I think that really helps a lot for the future and to help create more successful human beings, in our society.
Yeah. And aside from the certifications, PSJA also offers the associate's degree, so you can go with the associate's degree and a certification. What's, I guess, the importance of the associate's degree and the certifications, or both of them combined?
So I'll share a little bit about myself. You all mentioned I am an alumni, right? Well, back then, right, we did not have these options of going and getting associate's degrees. We're still in high school, right? But now, when we have that big culture, a college-going culture with PSJA has created, one of the largest in the Rio Grande Valley and really across the state of Texas. When you think about our area, a lot of this stuff is unheard of up north in Texas, right? And so with that, the certifications is not just a credential. It is literally brought upon by the businesses, the industry out there saying, this is what we're looking for. And if they're telling us what they're looking for, this is what we're preparing you for. And so that goes hand in hand, right? And so I know that when we talk about, everybody can make a resume look great, right? I can say and write all these nice things about what I can do and what I know and what I've done. But if you have that certification, that's a paper that tells you that you actually perform something successfully, or you pass an exam successfully that you met those standards.
Yeah, you're like qualified.
Qualified,
right?
yes. So real big difference from saying, I can do this, I can do that. We can all talk that, but those certifications are the evidence that you have been able to perform and do that. And then huge with our college certificates. We know that we have the associate's degrees, right? That's part of the whole early college program, which we are, large at all of our schools. We are all early college high schools. And then we have some P-TECs, and that's a lot focused on CTE also.
Those are the certificates, correct? The
P-TECs are like, we have Ballou, that's a P-TEC, and Sotomayor. So those schools. And then we have all the other schools that are early college high schools, right?
Okay.
And so it's just a matter of, like you say, of preference, right? Not everybody's looking to go to college, but we want to have options if they do, right? So that's why we get them started academically with some of those courses for an associate's. And some of those are still CTE driven, criminal justice. It's related to law, right? But it is an academic associate program, right? Or pathway. We have computer science, right? And that too, it's an academic associate's, but it's also CTE. So really just seeing the mesh between early college and taking dual credit classes and CTE together, there is a place for everyone in our district to excel in. And I think that's what we kind of ground ourselves on. And with those certifications, have you all taken certifications?
I haven't.
No?
I've taken like CT classes, but I've never gotten to like certified.
Okay.
Well, I actually last year, my sophomore year, I got my graphic design certification, my
Photoshop?
Photoshop, yes. My Photoshop certification. So that was really cool. The class was really nice. I got to learn how to do all that. And it really expanded my knowledge about, you can edit these pictures and how people do it. And now I have that certification. So now I can add that to my resume.
And so that's really cool because when you think about, you talked about business too that you had with Ms. Osuna here, right? I'm not going to even, I hate to bring it up, but I think was it Nicki Minaj? No. Who was it who said, like, if you need to take a class, take a business class?
I think it was Cardi B.
Cardi B. Yes.
I'm like, I know one of those ladies said it. And it's true because business is in everything, even education. As an educational system, it's a business. We have customers. Who are our customers?
The students.
The students, of course, right? And so what do you know? You always treat your customers the best, right? And that's what we want to do at PSJA is treat you students as our customers the best and be able to provide whatever you need moving forward, right? And so with that, there's just so many opportunities that we have in CTE. And you also mentioned the idea that not everybody wants to go to college, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll share a little story. My background before being the CTE director, I was an early college director at a high school at PSJ North, actually my alumni. And so with that, I will share that, it's two different mindsets. When you're an early college director, right, you're focusing on getting students college ready, right, and going through college coursework. And then bringing that with CTE when I joined this team, and it was like I saw the best of both worlds because I could see how the student that wants to excel in a college area, we're going to move forward and help them. And then the student that wants a skill and wants a certification to go out into the workforce or continue in college but already has some more background as a plan B or, something to work while they're going to school, this was the perfect situation. So, that's why I feel like PSJ offers the kids the best of both worlds in whatever options you're seeking, right? And we know that we may not always, we're thinking in the now, right? If you ask mom or dad, right, they're going to say, like, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. But you're thinking in the now, right, because you're living it. Yeah. And so being able to just have that knowledge of knowing it's available and making a choice, right? What do you feel is the best path for you? But the point is that PSJ is providing that either which way that you want. So being from PSJA, coming back to PSJA, I didn't do my teaching at PSJ, but when I was going to become an administrator as a leader, I didn't apply anywhere else. I said, if I'm going to start, I want to go back to PSJ.
Yeah.
And so I said, if it's the time, it'll come. And so I was very fortunate, right, when I got hired. And then it happened to be at my alumni school at PSJ North, right? So that was very unique. But it's just one of those things that, like, I wanted to come back to where I'm from. You know what I mean? I don't personally live in the area anymore, but my kids all come to PSJ. And I wouldn't take that away from them. You know, it wasn't because they had to. It's because when they were here, we wanted to. And then they wanted to. And I love that having my children at PSJA, I support anything of their decisions because I feel this district has their best interest in mind.
Definitely.
So it's me as a parent perspective as well as being an employee. And so I love that I have that.
Yeah, I feel like it is the best of both worlds because even like my parents will say, they're like, well, you don't necessarily, if you don't want to go to college, that's like up to you, but you need to like get a skill. I think especially like my dad, he'll be like, you need a skill in life. And sometimes like the skill is more important than like the actual degree, because sometimes the skill gives you more money than like what a college degree can give you, because it's something that you work towards and you just work.
And so one of the things we also look at when we talk about these programs, we've got a lot of programs, right?
Definitely.
And we're looking at what else? Like, what else are we going to offer? What else can we start new, right? And so I will share that we use a lot of labor market data. So that helps drive what we bring into our district, right? We want to make sure that what we're going to offer, kids are going to be able to find a job in. You know what I mean? So we look at, you know, a lot of our students may or may not move or may not go away to college. But if they stay in the area, are we setting them up to be able to find a successful career path and a job to help them be successful for their families in their future, right? So am I going to bring a program necessarily that maybe there's no jobs around here for? That wouldn't really help us, right? So we're always driven by that. Yes, kids have great ideas, and we want to take those into consideration. Like, hey, how about you start this program I want? And, oh, you know what? There's always new trends with industry. Things are moving so automated, so more into that type of area, technology, right? When we started moving and advancing in that, well, we got to gear towards that area too, right? But not leaving behind it's still something that has a workforce. You know, right now, you still need someone to build that house, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to build itself. So keeping those things in mind so that we can help sustain ourselves as a community.
Make sure the programs stay relevant too, right? And help those students. One thing I want to add is that the CTE program has really helped me to think about what I want to do in the future. Because before, in middle school, I kind of had an idea, but then I was like, oh, I don't know. And then freshman year, I had architectural design, but it was during COVID, so I didn't really. Like, I was like, maybe I should do this, but then I kind of strayed away from it. And then sophomore year, I got into the business class with Miss Osuna, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this, you know? And even a little bit before that, I had an interest in business. But then this year and maybe spring semester of my sophomore year, I got into this class to audio and video production. And so now I'm like torn between business and communications or something in you know, the audio and video production field. And so it really opens up my eyes to the different possibilities that I can study and what I can accomplish for myself and my potential. And it really has helped me to know what I want to do and where I can, what are my goals in life.
And your strengths.
My
you
strengths.
just kind of discover what your strengths are. And that's one of the things, too, that we want to make sure that we offer. I mean, we're talking about 14-year-olds to 18-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of opportunity to explore, right? Yeah. So you don't know what you don't know, right? We all were in those shoes. How many times do people go to college and then you change majors, right?
Yeah.
It happens. And that's because they're older. So, you know, one of the things is that, yes, there's the exploration to really find what you feel like you enjoy and then what you can really excel in. Because there's two things, right? I can be a great athlete, but, you know what I mean? If I'm not happy being an athlete, then do I want to pursue that, you know? And you kind of get to gauge that. But most importantly, we really try and get kids to focus on a pathway, and that's to develop the skill. You know, if you're kind of shedding the thread on different ones, you got a little bit here, you got a little bit there, a little bit of that. And most importantly, throughout the time you should gain skills like life skills, employability skills, learning time management, to be able to present like you're here. We're, on the fly. Let's figure it out. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. Let's share information, right? And let's learn from it. But when you stick to a program too, because you start it and then you like it and then you enjoy it and you're getting better at it and you keep doing it, guess what? You get more and more skills because you go deeper every year with different classes and you get exposed to. And so that's obviously a goal that we want to make sure that will set you up for, positively when you graduate.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned earlier about like technology and all that stuff. So how does the program continue growing with all these like technical innovations that are coming in? Like, is it making it better? Is it making it worse? Is it harder to find jobs? Because there's more technology coming in and, they say robots are going to take over the world, like all that stuff. So,
well, and those are really big. A lot of our STEM careers are the ones that are growing. Again, going back to, are we producing and manufacturing? Somebody still has to make that robot, right? So, there's parts that have to be made to create that robot. And so just changing the mindset of our generations. And you all are prime examples of that, how these are things that we can ultimately make adjustments on, and that we can help build that skill for the workforce. And that's what we need to be doing, right? There are things that will not go away. We will always need a doctor, right? Bottom line. Yeah. But how are we all going to be doctors? You know what I mean? So we need, who helps that doctor? He needs a nurse. He may need an assistant. He needs somebody to know proper things to operate. He needs somebody who knows the tools, the surgical tech. If something happens, he needs blood drawn at the time. He needs a phlebotomist. Like, there's a whole lot of different roles than just saying, when most kids are in elementary, I want to be a doctor. You know what I mean? So making sure that we're able to express that and communicate to kids to find what they like and what they enjoy. And then again, keeping in mind your age, right? So these are stepping stones. Live and learn. So stepping stones to say, I got a phlebotomy technician certification. Now what am I going to do? Well, I want to get another certification. And I can do it while I'm working because I'll get experience. Yeah. But I have something, a credential, something that I can go and I can start working on and be able to maintain myself. And so that's important to us too, that, right? Because that stabilizes and helps our economy in our community. And then, of course, the families, our PSJ families.
Yes. So how did the program start? Like, since when has the CTE program started, and like how did it flourish into this big thing that we have now?
Well, at PSJA, I can't necessarily talk for, depending on how far back we're talking, right? But in the past 4 years, what we've done a lot of is just incorporating a little bit of new programs, and with those new programs, looking at certifications for all the programs that we offer. So that is the ultimate goal, that regardless of what program you select or that you go through, you walk away with an industry-based certification, or you walk away with a college certificate in that program, or in an associate's degree. And so those are our three, goals for any of our students, that everybody prior to graduation or when you graduate has something of those types of credentials to go and be, go and decide whether you're going to go on to pursue post-secondary education or if you're going to go and be successful in a career in the workforce. But as they progress, again, things change. And a prime example is, every 2 years, the state comes and tells us, the businesses have spoken. They now want this certification. Okay, our teachers on the fly, let's prepare kids for that certification, because that's now what our world is looking for our employers. So we got to get you ready. Because if we're still doing things, 10, 15 years ago, well, that skill doesn't exist anymore. That job doesn't exist anymore. So we have to keep up with those trends, keep up with the industry. And one of the great things with that is, again, advancing our resources, right? So a big part of that is making sure that we're able to satisfy and bring in all the resources needed. And resources, I mean like equipment, our softwares, keeping those things modern and up to date, because that way you're using what you're going to see when you go to work. You know what I mean? If we're still using, the flip phone type of deal or some manual camera, that you're taking shots on, you're not going to see that in the workplace, right? Yeah. So we've got to be able to teach kids. And so, right, we've got to be able to maintain that. Yes. And so that's important to us, to kind of keep looking at what those resources and equipment pieces are out in the workforce, so that we teach you how to use them and have access to them to be successful.
I know you mentioned teachers earlier. Do you guys think about maybe in putting a class for like substitute certificate? Because I know like being a substitute is a big thing, especially since COVID and teachers are going and more subs need to come in and this and that. Do you think about putting in a certification for that?
So we do have substitute certifications. It's done through the dual credit education classes. Okay. So we do have teachers that teach Education 1301 through our partnership with South Texas College. And in that course, the kids do get certified. And so this past year, too, we have our own alternative certification program for teachers at PSJA. And again, we have our own so that way teachers that we're bringing into our district, we're training them the way we want them to produce in our schools for our best customers, again, right, the students. And so what we did is we had all of our education classes, our seniors, go through the program with our ACT RGV here at PSJA, and they got that certification too. So they are able to, again, there's some guidelines within how many years they can substitute and at what level, right? But, you know, for elementary first, because they're young, right? As soon as you graduate, we want to put you in elementary versus in a high school, kind of to protect them.
Yes.
But we do, those students did. We got over, 60-some kids certified with a substitute certification, part of our ACT RGV, which is, again, helping grow our own community at PSJA.
Another great opportunity,
Yeah. And so I'll share that one too, make sure.
Yes.
The word.
Yes, I knew that with us earning our associate's degree, we were able to get, become a substitute, but I didn't know, you had that whole program of the ACT RGV, which is super cool.
RGV,
Yeah, it
yes,
is.
we do it in our district. And so sometimes when teachers are looking, not just our students, but teachers are looking to get certified, they'll go through our PSJ program. And so that really helps us produce the quality of teacher that we want in the classroom, right? Because we've trained them. Yeah. They went through our program at PSJ.
Definitely. Well, one of the questions that I have for you is, at what grade level do the CTE programs open up for students? Obviously, high school, right, is a big part of the CTE program, but what about middle school and elementary?
Last year we started middle school CTE, and it is awarding high school credit. So we have we have all of our middle schools that offer something of CTE. Most of them are principles of business management and finance, right? Or principles of information technology. Again, going back to the technology, right? It's important. So if we can give them skills that'll help them be better prepared to join at the high school, and of course have a little bit of introduction to the various options, then we're starting off a little bit better for that student. So we do offer that at the middle schools, at all of our 8 middle schools. As far as elementary, what we do is we do more of exploration with expos. And so we like to bring them into some of our facilities so that way they can see the high school kid welding.
And get inspired.
Yes,
right?
we see we bring them over to where we have like a kind of like a nursing simulation hospital across the street too. There's a lot of our health science classes from elementary, or really from elementary, middle school, and high school go to. And that's what we do with the students, the elementary, kind of expose them again. They think just doctor, and we want them to see different options, right? Even if it says, I want to be the one that stuck the needle, that's what the kids think.
Yeah.
But then as they get older, they're learning, that's the person that helps take the blood to give to the doctor to make sure we're okay. And then that terminology starts to expand, and then you hear the high school students say, I'm in the phlebotomy technician program. So there's the phase of as you're growing and maturing, you're learning, right?
Yeah, that's awesome to just picture that in your head.
I know, so
there's
cute.
A little kid, and he's like, I poked somebody with a stick and got blood, and then the other one, or the needle, or stab somebody, right? And then the next one will do something, say it in a different format. Again, learning more information. And then you've got the students that, and PSJ High this year has their own phlebotomy technician for the first time this year on campus. So we're, again, expanding our options, growing our teachers that are willing and wanting to provide more for their kids, right? And so, like I said, they come from the industry. They know what they've been doing for years before, and so they're the best asset. And so that's what makes my job easier, right? Because I don't know everything of all the career pathways. I haven't lived and worked in all of them, but I have experts, and that's what they do. And so it makes my job easier to kind of help, because I can rely on them, and they know it and they've lived it.
Yeah. So if you were a student at PSJA, well, you were, right? But what 3 CTE classes would you recommend that would be probably the most important?
Well, speech is a requirement, but I would recommend it anyway, right? Because at one time and point, we're all presenting, and we want to make sure that we do that, accurately and presentably, and always just important, right? So I think speech is a good skill to have for anything. We talked about business, right? Because everything turns into a business. Yeah. You want to be a baker, well, have your own company, right? And so it's great if you can make a great pie, but if you don't know how to sell it, if you can't market it, if you don't know how to price it, if you can't manage the accounting behind it, all of that, then it may not be as successful. So business is important because it's in everything, right? Let me think of the next one. I don't want to favor one over the other.
Well, I guess based on your interest, what would you want to take?
I'm actually very interested in the trades. Especially as a female, right? I think that it's important to be independent women.
Yeah.
And with that, not have to rely on anybody to hang something on the wall.
Girl power.
To put a light switch or something, right? So electrician, welding, HVAC, why do I have to pay somebody outrageous amount of price to come fix my aircon? And then they say, oh, you should have just done this. And I was like, oh, I wish I'd known that, right? And so I really think back to, again, growing up too. I was fortunate that my parents, that's what it was. It was taught, you need to learn to be independent. Don't rely. I'm going to teach you what your mom's doing, and I'm going to teach you what your dad's doing, and it's okay to do both, right? So I personally would rather cut the yard than wash dishes. I'm not, no joke.
Really?
Yes. And so it's just one of those things that's how I was raised, learn the best of be able to do it on your own. And so, but again, I don't have the deep skill as, again, a welder or an electrician. I don't. But I would love to be able to do those things on my own.
Well, it's never too late.
Never too late, too. I know I go to the shops and the kids are great. I walk into a welding shop. They're like, miss your safety glasses. I'm like, yes. I carry them in my bag, but they do. They want to show me, and I'm just like, oh.
I don't know.
Then I get scared.
No, I always tell myself, I was like, I want to learn how the car works, because it's I'm going off to college. I'm not even going to have my car over there, but I was like, you never know, you need something. And my car's broken down a couple of times this year. And I'm just looking at the engine, and I'm like, yeah, no, this looks, the only thing I know is does my car need water? That's
water?
the only thing I know.
Water?
Yeah, because your car needs water.
Windshield. Water,
wiper fluid?
No, your car actually needs water.
What?
That's a thing. And
maybe we need to take the other one class.
Because I remember my Theo was he came to check my car one time, and he's like, oh, your car needs water, because if you don't put water in it, you're gonna be left without a car. So that left me paranoid. So every time my car doesn't work, I'm like, check the water. Oh. But apparently, yeah, your car needs water.
You know where the water goes?
Yeah, I know where the water goes. Yeah, I know. One time, me and my friends, we thought we put it in the wrong place, and we're like, OMG, did we put it in the oil part?
Oh, that's right.
But luckily, no. We were all good. My car still works.
No,
still
but
in one
you're
piece.
right. When you stop and think about it, you've got to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You want to know about automotive to fix those minor things. You want to know about healthcare, yourself.
Yeah.
Help your parents, help your kids. In the future, we have to know how to maintain good health for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so we can't just, oh, they cut themselves, let's go to the hospital. What? No, be able to have some minor skills to be able to kind of maintain.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of everything, but I know that I just feel those are more hobbies for me that I would want to pursue.
Yeah, I think it would be good. And especially because I kind of come from a family of mechanics. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just well, that's something. I'll call my dad, and then I call my uncle. I call my other uncle. I'm just so something's wrong with the car. But yeah, I think it's good skill to have, though.
And especially being, going off to college, you're going to think about those things because they could happen, right? Wherever you're traveling, and you don't want to be stuck or stranded or unsafe in any area.
Yeah, so especially if you're going alone.
Yeah, if you don't know anyone, you have to have, I guess, yourself to rely on, especially. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, we want to get a little personal. So
in the hot seat.
Well, no, not too personal, but you obviously have this career as the CTE director. What did you go to college for, essentially, and what did you major in?
So I have a bachelor's of science, and so I majored in biology, and so I taught science, biology at a high school level. I taught anatomy and physiology at a high school level. And that's where my experience has been in the sciences, in teaching, and only in high school. I will be very honest. I didn't teach at any other level, right? So after that, I moved on to do administrative work or facilitator work. And so I went back for my master's. I have a master's in education leadership. Okay. And that's where I did seek to kind of pursue just wanting to learn more about how I could help more. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the decisions people make, right? As far as, teaching and administration, where, what you want to set your mind to kind of help and do. Again, I think both options, it's about the individual's preference, right? But again, I keep myself grounded on what is best for kids. Yeah. And so as a teacher, that's what you keep your mindset on, what is best for kids. And when I became an administrator, which is like an assistant principal first, right? And then early college director, you always think of situations in the same tone, right? Yeah. So what is best for kids? And that's one of the things that I loved that I kept focusing my energy on, because then everything was equitable. You were doing everything for the right reason. Like, how could anybody say, you were not on their side? Yeah. If we're doing it for the kids and for them, we're doing it right. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's not about another adult. It's about the students. And so that makes it easy, right? Yeah. If you just keep it that way, like, are you going to disagree with me? But it's best for kids. Well, no. Okay, then we'll do it for the kids. Yeah. And so, you kind of stay grounded like that. And I still love that today, because though it's more programs, right? Obviously, working with all the CTE teachers in our district, we're over 140 teachers, right? Yeah. The CTE throughout all the high schools and all of the and the middle schools that we have CTE in. And so with that, you stay grounded on trying to, keep all the programs, right? Over 20 programs, being able to function well. Again, why? Because it's what's best for kids. It doesn't matter if it's the culinary kid or the automotive kid or, the law enforcement kid or the audio production kid. It's what's best for kids.
Well, we definitely see that, because, if you weren't living by that, I guess, motto, you could say, then we wouldn't be here, right? Because we'd just be learning, let's just learn how to edit. Okay, you're done. That's it. But look, like, our program has expanded. Same thing with graphic design. We go, and business too, go to BPA, those competitions. Yeah. So there's Skills USA too for welding. Correct. There's a whole bunch of different competitions and things that you can do outside of just, the classroom. So I really see that, do it for the kids. You do what's best for them.
And I love that you bring up BPA and, Skills USA, right? Because these are student organizations. They're called CTSOs, Career and Technical Education Student Organizations. And so we have Skills USA that has, an array of it. We have BPA. We have FFA. We have FBLA, which is also another one aligned to business. We have robotics, right? They too. So you've got so many. I'm trying to remember. I'm hoping I'm not missing any. HOSA, Health Science, right? HOSA. Yes. So we have all of these different organizations. And again, it's about taking what they've learned and go out and show it, pretty much. It's a leadership, right? They go out and they show their skills in different types of events. And if you've probably noticed, if you know any of those students, a lot of it is presenting leadership. Yeah. Yes, there are crafts, right, where you'll take displays to show your work and your skill. But a lot of it is them presenting and having the knowledge to speak what you know, right? And that's what we tell teachers all the time. If your student can speak to you, repeat their understanding, they know what they're talking about, right? If they have to write it down, but they can express it, they understood it. You know what I mean? Instead of getting a confused face. So it works the same way. You're going out there and you're showcasing, our students are showcasing their skills and their learning by being part of these organizations. And then just the network, right? So they go and they're with students from other high schools in our valley, or they go on to a state and they're talking, they're working with kids that are speaking their same business language, agriculture language, health science language, whatever it is, because that's what they're coming together to do, right? And so you learn and you network, and that's how you make those, little social media connections. And then that's future employers or future, colleagues and coworkers. And that's, it really helps drive, more unity for the students to be able to kind of relate to each other and kind of have somebody on your side, right? That's on your same level.
Yeah, I think it's so great that we have these programs, because it really opens up what we want to do. Because I know I went to like another school before I came to PSJA, and they didn't offer like any CTE classes. So it's kind of like you're clueless of what you want to do with your life. And then I came here, I got into the KTRI, I got into the audio and video production, and I was like, this is something I really enjoy, and this is something I could see myself doing as a career, and it's like led to this like wonderful thing, and like now I'm researching and I have all these goals and aspirations for myself that I never would have had.
And a lot of our teachers have these great success stories of their kids, right? Of where their students are at now, and especially if it's aligned to what they taught them. Like, imagine that feeling.
Yeah.
Like, you had an impact in
I envy
their
some
life,
of my CTE teachers. They're like, my kids went on to do great things. I'm like, and me, you know, but no, it's true. It's about with them. And most importantly, they know about these kids' success stories because they came back and told them, because they were still in connection and communication with them. So what does that tell you? It wasn't just a student in a classroom. It was a relationship that teacher built, and that rapport, that the student felt comfortable, you know, having that connection, saying, hey, what you taught me, I'm using it in the real world and I'm making money. Can you believe that? You know, like, that's just, you know, the icing on the cake for the CTE programs, that with the skills that we set them forward have made them to have successful careers outside once they graduate, or even during school. We do have some of our programs, mostly in our dual credit programs, but we do try and get kids the paid internships. So that way, that's important for kids to know, because those paid internships, they're learning, but they're working on the job too. And is it sometimes, you know, after school? Yes, right? Because we have school hours. Is it on Saturdays? Yes. But they're still helping, you know, kind of refine their craft, and they're getting paid. And so, again, it's helping them build, again, part of their resume. But again, when they go and work, they can show, this is what I can do. I've done that. Yeah. I've worked on that, you know what I mean? Or I've done that skill.
Yeah, I think about it a lot, because we're both a part of KTRI. Yeah. And I think we're both thinking about pursuing
we definitely are.
A career in that, you know, aspect.
Yes.
But I think about it a lot. It's like, we're going to be ahead of a lot of people, you know, in the future, because we've already experienced this. We've already got the jitters out. We've already, you know, so it's more natural to us.
We've even been on the actual news before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's great.
One time at one of the football games, Channel 5 was there, and Mr. Leja was able to get us a gig and be on the news. So we like, it was super unplanned. We knew like 2 minutes before we had to go on, and he's like, "Okay, girls, you're on." And we were like, "What?" Like,
so when you all move past BNN and you have your own podcast, don't forget about us.
No, we won't.
We won't. I don't know.
Shout outs.
Yes.
All right.
Ms. Garcia over at PSJA. Definitely.
The CTE director. Well, to wrap up this podcast, we have one more question. You are a PSJ alumni, so, and I know you touched this a little bit earlier in the podcast, but I'd like for you to go more into detail. What's so special about PSJ, and what made you come back to like work for the district and work to work for all these like high schools and bring these programs forward?
Contribute what you know, what you have to the district.
And I think that's exactly, you just said it for me. It was so I could contribute and give back. Like I mentioned, you know, PSJ I felt was really good to me when I was here. You know, this was back, I'm the class of 1997 from PSJ North. So it was really good to me. My parents still live in FAR, so we're still from the community. Like I mentioned, my kids come to school here, so I'm not just an employee, I'm a parent. And so one of the things is being in the role at like with the district where I represent all schools. I take that to heart, and I will share. One of my children is going to graduate this year from PSJ North, and I have another child that's a sophomore here at PSJ Bears.
Oh wow!
And why? Because I think PSJ is great, and it doesn't matter what school. If they're excelling and doing well, I believe that all the schools are equally, you know, great. So you know, that's a choice that we get to make for our kids as an option. With PSJ, you know how we have that where you get to choose to come to your school. I let them be part of that too. It doesn't matter that I work here. I'm a parent, and as a parent, I have that right, and all of our kids have that right? And so therefore, I make it a goal that it be where I think PSJ is great all around, that I let them choose where they want to pursue their education. As long as they're doing well, there's no concerns, right? And so giving back, like I said, when I was applying, the only application I did for an administrator when I got, you know, my certification was PSJ. And so I said, if it's time, it will happen there. And so I was fortunate enough that I was able to come in. At the time, I came in as a dean at PSJ North. So I've served a little bit of roles. I did the dean, I did the early college director, and now the CTE director. And so it's been an overall 17 years in education. And most importantly, like I said, and you'll probably realize it here, I do it because I want there to be great possibilities for kids.
Yeah.
I want what I want for my kids, I should want for all kids.
Yeah.
And so the way I want teachers to teach and respect and build relationships with my kids, that's what I want, for everybody's kids. And so I think that's important, again, keeping grounded on that, on our customers, first and foremost. And that's where I would definitely ground myself with my family, being part of the PSJA family. And so there's never been a question where else I would take my kids, right? Or we would send our kids to. And it's just been a very humbling journey for me to come back to where I grew up. And again, still being part of wanting to do the same thing that everybody else does, right, for the students. And with CTE, I've been able to see so many options and opportunities. I don't know, if I could describe PSJ in one word, it would literally be opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
I would agree.
Yes.
You don't get this first class education in all of the Rio Grande Valley, school districts. And so opportunity, who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that, just to live and learn? And so that's where I want to make sure that I pace myself to continue to want to do those good things in the district and continue, again, like I said, see what trends are coming, look at the labor market, and be the lookout, right, really, for our youth. What's going to make them the best moving forward? And that's what we want for our PSJ students.
We're hashtag
Opportunity.
PSJ proud.
Yes.
Awesome.
Opportunities,
And-
opportunities, opportunities.
Yes. And we're always hashtag PSJ CTE.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Hashtag
Especially
PSJ
this
CTE.
month.
Exactly. CTE month, honoring. Perfect.
Well,
And I'm very honored because I'm not a on-campus staff member, right? But I am honored to be as part of the PSJ ISD, your guest today.
Yeah, we're proud to have you here
yes,
today.
our first district-wide podcast episode.
So this is like an honor for us too.
And it was awesome having you on. We got to learn a lot about the CTE program, and we got to share our gratitude for how you've helped build up this program. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, honestly.
Yeah.
For
And y'all will
building
be our
these up.
our spokesmodels. So now I'm going to just say, everybody, come and learn from Cassie and Sam all about CTE.
Yes.
I need a job in a few months, so call me, please. All right.
Sounds good.
Well, that concludes our podcast for today. Thank you so much for joining Miss Garcia, and go Bears!
Go Bears.
Go Bears.